This podcast brought to you by...
At Zulu's Board Game Cafe in Bothell, you can feed your family, enjoy a frosty beverage, order a new game, and pick them all up curbside. Check out Zulu's food and beverage menu specials and game specials at Zulu'sGames.com. That's Zulu'sGames.com. Zulu's Board Game Cafe. Let's play.
Ladies, gentlemen, geeks of all ages, you are now entering BJ Shea's Geek Nation. Welcome.
Yes, welcome to BJ Shea's Geek Nation. I am the Reverend Enfuego. Across from me is Vicky Barcelona.
Hello.
The show's namesake, BJ Shea. He's right over there.
Well, howdy.
Howdy. And running the boards is Joey Dees. Hi. On today's show, we'll talk with Gareth von Kallenbach about all sorts of things, including San Diego Comic-Con, Free Guy, and Lego Star Wars. Then we'll get into, finally, the Black Widow. Well, there's no "the" there, just Black Widow. Lots of spoilers, so just be ready for that, for us to endlessly speculate on what the hell's going on with all that. And, of course, the Geek Sheet with Vicky B. Vicky, how can people get a hold of us?
Get a hold of us via our website, bjgeeknation.com. It's going to have our blogs, podcasts, and more. Or just look up BJ Shea's Geek Nation on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, iTunes, and the Odyssey app, and you'll find us.
Yes, Odyssey is spelled, and I'll probably keep spelling it for all you guys so I can remember it myself, Audacy. If you have the old radio.com app, well, now it became Odyssey, and if you don't, well, you can download the Odyssey app and listen to all of our stuff. All sorts of crazy fun things with that app. Let's get right in it with Mr. Gareth von Kallenbach from Skewed Reviewed. That is sknr.net. Because we got a there we go. Yeah. For those people who love hearing that von Kallenbach. Now we've got some information from him. Gareth von Kallenbach joins us from Skewed Reviewed, and we may have taken a little while off, but that doesn't mean Gareth hasn't been scouring the internet for tips, news, and all sorts of different things coming out there. And let's start off with San Diego Comic-Con. A little bit of shortness on this one because what's going on?
Well, basically they pulled off another virtual show, and they're still... fingers crossed, hoping to do a smaller gathering over Thanksgiving weekend, and we'll have to see how, where the world is in that situation. But they actually were able to have even more stuff this year. I mean, they had a really good lineup last year, but while some of the bigger studios held back and did not have the participation that they normally would at the show, they did have some really nice things that expanded on from last year. And, one example was they kicked off with a G.I. Joe Snake Eyes preview. And what was so fun about that is we actually had the press screening that evening. And so I got to see the panel, and then we went and saw the screening. And it was done in conjunction with Comic-Con at home at certain cities. And they had this little booth set up right outside the screening. So you would go in, stand up against a green screen, and they were able to do one of projecting the Snake Eyes helmet on you with a retractable visor, as well as a backdrop. And then, of course, you get to email. You've seen them. You get to email or social media the picture to yourself. So that was, that was a little bit of fun, a little bit of something that you would get on the convention floor coming. And then there were tons of panels. And what was really nice about it was, unlike last year where not a lot of filming was going on, you had more clips and stuff to look forward to. So we got to see things like Star Trek Lower Decks gave a tease for Season 2. We got to see our first look at Star Trek Prodigy. AMC had some really good clips for The Walking Dead World Beyond, and Fear the Walking Dead, which really, this is impressive. And, you had things like Shudder showed some of their upcoming Creep Show, things like that. But one of the things I wanted to mention, there is a lot, because believe me, we can't cover everything. But one of the things I was really intrigued by is I've been following Titan Comics and their new Blade Runner series. They have Blade Runner Origins and Blade Runner 2029, and I've read a few of the issues, and they're quite good, actually. And then we got to have a look at the new animated Blade Runner Black Lotus, which is coming. And it kind of ties in right before Blade Runner 2049. And, from my standpoint, it's nice to see more of this Blade Runner universe because we had such a long gap between the original film and the sequels. I mean, we had a book here or there and a video game, but it's nice to see that they're still developing it, even though the movie didn't do as well as they had hoped. It did show that there's still interest in the franchise, so I'm really interested to see where they're going to go forward with this.
Yeah, a lot of fun and a lot of great information on that. And I know, like you said, there's so much more to cover, but you have more out there, so that's good to have on that. You did mention zombies with The Walking Dead, so I wanted to throw out there because you sent me it looks like they're animated, the original Night of the Living Dead?
That is correct. Warner Brothers Home Entertainment, who also did panels at Comic-Con for the Batman Long Halloween 2 and the upcoming Mortal Kombat movie, which looks really good, the animated Mortal Kombat film. They have, coming in October, they're going to take the 1968 original George Romero classic Night of the Living Dead that basically got this whole ball rolling with the zombies and more, and do an animated version of it. And I'm really curious to see what it's going to be. Katie Sackhoff is in it, Josh Duhamel's in it, and they've got a really interesting cast, and it'll be really curious because, as I said to people, yes, they did remakes in the 90s where they remade it in color, they remade the sequel. There have been a couple attempts to do the third film, but this is really interesting in that they're looking to basically stay true to the original, but modernize it just slightly, but not as radically as some of the other attempts have done.
Oh, very interesting on that. And I always love the good zombie stuff, so I'm very excited for that. Now, going into theaters fairly soon, is it this weekend or the next weekend? We got Ryan Reynolds with Free Guy.
Next weekend,
okay,
so a week from Friday. And this is really interesting because right at the top, I know this has been a huge topic of discussion about various actors and actresses potentially suing their studios over going to streaming and so on and so forth. And we've obviously know about Scarlett Johansson. We've heard that we may have one over Cruella, but then The Rock has said, "I'm not doing it. I'm cool." But of course, he also has all these production deals with the studios. Well, perhaps this is a offshoot of that, and we have to remember this film was done by Fox, but then acquired by Disney with the purchase, and it basically has had to sit there because of the instability in the world. And they apparently have come out and said, we're not doing a streaming option on this. It's going to be a theatrical release only.
Ooh,
and so, that is important because we'll see where all this legal stuff goes. But it seems like now you're starting to see, well, maybe we're going to hold off on same-day streaming, and, of course, that'll affect Shang-Chi and the Eternals and on down the line. So the good thing about the film is that, without spoiling too much, as anyone knows, essentially Ryan Reynolds plays a guy who is an NPC in an open-world game who isn't really aware that he is an NPC and that his whole world is fake. And then one day, through a quirk, things happen, and he literally has his eyes opened. And it's clever in that it blends elements of The Truman Show, They Live. There was a few elements of Tron in it, and a few elements, I would even say, of Ready Player One. But it's completely original. It's not like it copies those ideas. It just has kind of little bits of nod. The characters are really enjoyable. You really enjoy them. They're sympathetic. You root for them, which you don't get in a lot of these films where the FX overshadow everything. But what is really great about it is, one, it's got a lot of humor to it, blended in with the action. There are so many cameos, either voice cameos or celebrity cameos, that really are completely unexpected. There's a sequence near the end that brought it was only the press, but, usually stoic members of the press were just busting up and cheering when this certain segment came in. And when you see it, you folks will know. And I'm sitting here and asking myself, was this in there from the beginning, or was this added in after the purchase? And you'll see what I mean when you see it. But there are just clever nods. Like my wife said, this has actually been her favorite film of the year.
Wow.
And there are so many clever nods that, like, for example, you'll see in the background, they're walking along and you'll see this character just walking into a wall, trying to figure out, or one just bouncing down the street, and you're like, yep. And as anybody that's been in an open world game knows, you'll see that sort of thing. Somebody who just can't figure it out. And, you watch it and you're like, there's elements of Grand Theft auto online, there's elements of this game and all this, and you're just like, this is hysterical. And it was very clever. And the beauty of it is there is a story that takes place in the real world. There's a story that takes place in the virtual world. And, of course, the merger between the two. And it was just really fresh and clever. And it was one of those things that you go, this is the kind of film that you need to see in an audience with a lot of people and really enjoy. And best of all, I don't think you need to be a hardcore video gamer to enjoy it. And that's, just nothing but good things to say about it.
And, I mean, to be perfectly honest, video games have been so pervasive in everybody's life. I feel people have dealt with glitches and such and kind of know how, like, things like GTA work. So I feel that that'll be fine even for the noobs when it comes down to it. But also speaking of video games, and, I mean, it's video game content, Lego Star Wars is doing something else now, too.
Yes, they are. Now, that was really a bit of a surprise because they have, people remember for Disney Plus, they did a Christmas show, and that went over fairly well, very well, actually.
Loved it,
and now we're getting a Halloween show, and it will be on Disney Plus. And what we've been told is that essentially Poe Dameron and BB-8 go to Mustafar, and they are getting their ship worked on, and they find that Darth Vader's castle is under the control of a Hutt who wants to turn it into, I believe, a hotel or a resort. And essentially, they start going into the lower decks of this castle, and they meet Darth Vader's assistant. And, of course, apparently there are 3 spooky tales that are told as they go on this walk. And, looking at the cast, you say, well, gee, this person's playing the Emperor, this person's playing Darth Vader. So obviously these will be flashback tales, but all we've been told is that they will be, obviously being Lego, it'll be family appropriate, but we are told they are spooky tales from the Star Wars universe involving Darth Vader, the Emperor, so on and so forth. And so we can look forward to that around Halloween.
Lots of fun things that people can check out going across video games. Always that fun San Diego Comic-Con content, which, again, if you go to Skewed Reviewed, sknr.net, you'll get way more information than what we covered here because there's just too much. All of the information, all the news, all of that stuff, you can find that there. Go to Skewed Reviewed. Thank you so much, Gareth.
Anytime. Take care.
This podcast brought to you by...
At Zulu's Board Game Cafe in Bothell, you can feed your family, enjoy a frosty beverage, order a new game, and pick them all up curbside. Check out Zulu's food and beverage menu specials and game specials at zulusgames.com. That's zulusgames.com. Zulu's Board Game Cafe. Let's play.
Thank you again, Gareth. I am very excited for Free Guy when it comes out. Now, it's only coming out to theaters because, they, Disney Plus and those simul releases.
Joey D's, you and me, we doing it?
We're doing it. Nice.
Yeah, maybe like a little pizza afterwards.
Oh, yeah, doing the old bonding over a nice video game NPC movie.
And I'm going to tell you this right now. I'm going to tell you this right now. The female star of that movie, a lot of you folks, I'm telling you, Jodie Comer is a star. She's the person that plays Eve in Killing Eve. And she was also Rey's mom. Very, very quickly in Star Wars, she's Rey's mom when you see the flashback.
Okay.
Jodie is, oh my God, she's so good. She is so good. And I'm excited to see how she does in this movie and want to see her in more movies. She's so talented.
Nice. That's awesome. And, speaking of all the whole Disney Plus sort of thing, Black Widow is a movie that has been out for quite a while.
Wait a minute.
It kind of dropped off of theaters very quickly because it is available for premiere access on Disney Plus. And if you have looked at the news recently, there's a whole little back and forth between ScarJo and Disney Plus because she's wanting the money that she is contractually obligated to get.
Can't really blame her.
No, not at all, especially against the big bad mouse. So going into that, I finally was able to catch it. And BJ, you saw it in a theater, I think like the Friday it came out, right?
Oh, yeah. Our buddy Josh from BJ Shea's Board Game Alliance. Hopefully someday we'll come back. You damn COVID. Josh rented a theater because, right now you can rent theaters because not everybody's going, especially in the afternoon. So just 20 of us had the whole joint to ourselves watching Black Widow. It was awesome.
That's amazing because, I've seen those. AMC lets you rent out theaters. I was thinking about doing it with Scott Pilgrim versus the World at some point in time. But it seems a good reason if you've got your friends and you want to be able to feel comfortable in a theater. If you don't, that's a good way to go about it. Now I ended up watching on Disney Plus, so I was sitting at the comfort of my own home, having my own personal libations and being able to pause it when I needed to go use the restroom. So that was kind of nice on that. But how was that theatrical experience for you? Because this movie was made for the theaters, and it was very bombastic in a lot of places. The action was pretty great.
Unless you've got a really big screen TV, or at least one that you with a good sound system and you think is big enough that you really appreciate it. There's nothing like seeing a Marvel movie on the screen, and I think it does add to it. I really like the movie, and maybe I wouldn't have liked it so much if I was just sitting in my living room watching it for the first time. You know my opinion on Wonder Woman 84, and I wonder if I would have liked it more if I saw it in the theater. Sometimes there's something about the theater and being around other people, especially like we had our friends, that does add to the experience. And so I totally think seeing it in the theater was better for me, and maybe like the movie maybe better than I would have liked it.
I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a good way to kind of insert Black Widow's story into an area where, like, there's a little bit of wiggle room with that. And so we were able to see her after Captain America Civil War, where her and Steve and many others had either been captured or were on the run because of the Sokovia Accords. And so then it ends up going right into Infinity War, where she's trying to bring the band back together. And she's kind of the linchpin when it comes down to all of it at the end of that, as you see. So it was neatly placed. And you find out a lot of information about her past. And by the way, I did mention it earlier, but spoilers, we will be talking about all the ins and outs of this movie.
You're going to say that Spock died? Okay.
Okay. All right. You just went too far now. Now we got to end the podcast.
All right.
No, but it was a nice, succinct story that felt perfectly into place. Like it really, it worked very well when it came down to it.
There's a lot of, I don't know. There are people that just want to throw hate on this movie. And I don't, I have my own theories as to what it is, and I'm getting really frustrated at the geek community for being very predictable, or at least the trolls, for being very predictable. Oh, guess what? There's a certain person that will star in this movie, and they're just going to hate it because and it's not even about the person, it's more about the characteristics of a person. And I'm like, really? I'm so tired of the predictability trolls that I'm almost thinking that it's just like, this is what people just want to do. They just want to troll us because this movie's as good as a lot of Marvel movies. Obviously it's ground level, right? So you're not going to have the excitement of the Guardians of the Galaxy type of epic movie, or, Thor in space or something like that. I mean, but it is it's as good as Captain America, the first Captain America movie, as far as action and stuff going on, and her sister, Florence Pugh, who played Yelena. And David Harbour.
Oh, yeah.
And David Harbour was great. I just, I loved him as Alexei. And Rachel Weisz, I'll watch her and everything. I've loved her, and she's still amazing. I don't know who she paid off. She made a deal with somebody, because I'm like, wow. I was like, I think that's Rachel Weisz, but she looks like she is still, when I remembered her from 20 years ago. So
yeah, from the Mummy and such.
Which, by the way, I know the graphics and stuff of the Mummy aren't great anymore. However, it is still an amazing movie.
And going through all of this, first off, I've decided that I need to more than likely get myself a Red Guardian hoodie, if not an entire costume.
Oh, yeah,
so definitely. I can go around pretending I'm David Harbour. And maybe getting some of those dad bod vibes when it comes down to it.
It's like the movie was started off like The Americans, but superhero Americans.
Straight up. Yeah. I was thinking about that when it first happened, and it was like, wow, it was really cool how they did all of this, because it is exactly what you were looking for if you come out of Captain America Civil War, because like you said, these are ground level characters, but these are more akin to the Bourne Identity or something along those lines of those larger than life super spy movies. And that's what made it so much fun.
And I really loved, I had no idea what Alexei's powers, if he had any powers, were. So he's basically the Russian Captain America. He's the Russian super soldier.
Yeah, he took apparently the Russian version of the super soldier serum, and he was the.
I was very surprised. He's like, I'm going to move this bus out of nowhere. Holy crap!
Yeah,
at the very first, at the beginning.
That was a surprise to be like, oh, he's been like that all the time. It's not like they were just suddenly something. They were already ingrained into American society, but they were still very much Russian. Well, I mean, at that point in time, Alexei Super was. into the whole propaganda bought into everything. So yeah, I love the fact that they were able to really kind of hit a lot of fun different Easter eggs, and going all the way to the end with the bonus scene on that at the very, very end with oh gosh, what is her name?
Oh, Valentina Allegra de Fontaine.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh,
which we weren't supposed to see her first in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but because of COVID, we ended up seeing her.
Yeah.
Which honestly,
but this was supposed to be her debut. Was in this movie.
Mm-hmm. And honestly, the way they did it was still good.
Yeah.
And it still worked. I don't think it ruined the surprise, because I was just as surprised to see her show up in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So it still gave me that, like, holy cow, who's this?
Exactly.
It's Elaine. Elaine's a bad guy.
Damn it, Elaine. Which actually would make way more sense if they just called her Elaine. It was just Elaine Bennis the whole time running behind all that, and eventually being what they call in the comics Madam Hydra. I'm excited to see what they're going to be doing with her, because you do see General Ross at the beginning, so there's always that kind of floating Thunderbolts baddie group that is the bad guys doing good, which they've kind of already alluded to, but I don't know whether or not it's going to be like the Thunderbolts or like the Dark Avengers, because we saw John Walker, who is the not Captain America, had already been brought in by her, and we're seeing more along the lines of those kind of mirror versions, even with like Yelena. But it seems even at the end of the story here that she would have a different thing, as opposed to dealing with her with the Cassandra Bobanafana, whatever her damn name is, Fontaine.
Like, I'm on vacation. Leave me alone.
Yeah. Like, it just seems like kind of interesting that she'd be a part of that. But I mean, it makes sense in terms of having maybe not the best, or maybe sort of like Black Ops Avengers team that they want to kind of put together.
I'm obsessed with Yelena. Sorry. I'm like Florence Pugh. Everything she does that I've seen her in is phenomenal. If you guys haven't seen Fighting with My Family, I definitely recommend it.
Oh, I haven't. I think that might be the first time I've seen Florence Pugh, so I didn't know she had. I didn't know much else about her. So that's cool.
Fighting with My Family is the one with The Rock, where she's a part of she's British with her family that are all into wrestling. Nick Frost is in it. Lena Headey's in it.
Oh yeah,
nice.
It's based off a true story. She's phenomenal in it, and just to see her range, just being an actual wrestler.
Yeah.
She's really cool.
Going back to Black Widow, one of the little more disappointing part was really kind of the bad guys in this one. I mean, I get Dreykov being the overarching bad guy who can mind control all of the extra Black Widows. We find out that Budapest with Hawkeye and her was the mission to kill him. And that kind of went to plan, but then we find out, nope, surprise, nope, not so much. It didn't really kind of work out that way. So, I mean, obviously that has to be kind of the big bad, but his henchman kind of felt into the villain meh aspect for me, which was Taskmaster, who is
people are very mad about that.
It's an entity that in the comic books and in this one can mimic each person, anybody they see, their fighting style. So it's very interesting at that. But when they did the big reveal, first off, I don't know how I didn't pay attention at this, but I didn't even realize it was his daughter the whole time. I was just like, don't. And then
when it was announced.
I'm like, who is this? Like, who is this person, and why should I care? I had to look it up and realize I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
You must have missed that, because they really wanted that. They wanted that to be a thing. You know, like, oh, this haunts her. She killed the kid, and in order to kill him, and then she didn't end up killing him, and then I killed the kid, but then the kid is not dead, but the kid is. At least, it was a little confusing. Like, did Natasha make her pretty much brain dead? But as it turns out, no, her own father did that.
Yeah.
But, so Natasha just gave her a bad scar, it looks like. Otherwise, she's okay.
And it kind of, that was the red on her ledger. That was the bad part of the
worst thing she's ever done.
Yeah, the worst thing she ever did. So it was one of those things where it's like, well, this is hanging over her. So you got some closure on that, and you were able to get through that. And getting towards the end of it, it opens up for there being seeing, Black Widows all over the world, which I would love to see almost like an Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. type show where they're around there trying to recover all the other ones that haven't or are still active, and then turning that into some sort of like Bourne Identity type show.
And we kind of saw a little bit of it with the Agent Carter show.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And apparently, and I didn't read into it because I haven't seen it yet, the Legends, the Marvel Legends show that's on Disney that comes out like episodic.
Yeah.
They did one about Agent Carter, and a lot of people weren't happy about it.
Oh, really?
So I have to go and watch it now. So I'll report back.
I think one of the biggest things also with the post-credit scene where we see Yelena and Banana Fana hanging out and she's giving her to the job is that it leads into the Hawkeye series because Florence Pugh's
like
character.
Pew, pew, pew.
I know.
Let's just call her the Off-White Widow.
Yeah.
Because she's wearing Off-White a lot, so I'd say we'll call her the Off-White Widow.
The eggshell widow. But the target that she's being sent out to kill is Clint Barton. So,
whoops!
Yeah!
That can't happen!
And it's like, look at that. The person who killed your sister, which we know isn't necessarily the case how Black Widow died, but it sounds like that's how the perception is, or at least how they're feeding the perception and getting that information out there.
So here's the sad thing is that she was brainwashed, then she gets free, and then here comes Valentina to brainwash her again.
Oh, of course.
It really sucks for these poor widows.
It's kind of like the X-23 story if you read the comics. Because she finally was able to break free from, the Weapon X-ish project that she was a part of. And when she broke free of that, like the character took a really dark turn and ended up going and trying to kill Wolverine. That didn't work because he told her the truth. And then becomes a prostitute for a while with a very abusive pimp because they're kind of stuck in that cycle they need. Even though they're free, they don't know how to be free. And, so that's why it reminded me of it. I know I didn't want to get into dark.
Don't get Loki going. Don't get Loki going because he'll tell you, see, I was right. Freedom is freedom is nothing but just basically, what is it, shackles you? His whole speech that he gives in the Loki show, and he also gave it in the first movie he was in with the Avengers. He was talking about freedom is not something you want. I'm doing you a favor by basically
purpose.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and there is something to be said. There's some good philosophy all the way through these Marvel shows, by the way. There's a lot of cool stuff said in the midst of punches.
So all in all, I really did enjoy Black Widow. I got it for the premiere access, so I'll be watching it again and again to get my money's worth.
So how's that work? Now, do you have premiere access for everything or just that one?
Just that one. So it's a la carte, but once you get it, you have it. You have it until they release it to everybody. So, yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, I got to wait till October, I'm told, and then I get it.
Oh, yeah. Well, you can wait until then. I don't have to wait, but you can go back and watch it.
Good for you, Blake. Good for you.
Exactly. So let us know how you guys felt about it. Vicky,
what about Joey D's? Did he see it?
I have not seen it yet.
So sorry about all the spoilers, Joe.
Hey, you know what? I'll still probably watch it.
Hey, you can just forget all about that. Don't worry about it.
On a scale of 1 to 722, what do you give it?
722. I'd probably give it
a 10.
Yeah, I would give it a solid 8. I felt there was a couple small issues, but little ticky-tacky things I don't necessarily care that much about. I thought the final fight scene was over the top ridiculous, but you're supposed to have that, so it was fun to see that happen.
That was insane at that was a little okay.
Yeah,
I was like, well, now come on.
I was like, okay, well, this is where they're going with that as well. And David Harbour as the Red Guardian is probably one of my favorite just interactions. Like the whole family dynamic with them was really good. There were some really good heartfelt moments. So all in all, a really good one.
I would love to see the what if they had to be stuck as a family for another 20 years. So they actually grew up together and continued the charade. I don't know how they put it.
It's close. Or charade if you want to be British.
Fancy.
It's a charade, I tell you.
For another 20, 30 years and then they have to go in and be bad guys or whatever it is they have to do.
But by and large, you like the movie?
I very much enjoyed it.
What would you give it out of 10?
I'd give it 8.59 out of 10.
Nice.
Just because I think I prefer more of the superhero power movies, or just something with a little bit more kick.
Yeah.
And I also feel like Scarlet, I love that there was Florence Pugh's character just because she kind of allowed her to be funny.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point, too, because she's so stoic as a character, so it's kind of...
She kind of, keeps everything, what's that term?
Grounded?
No,
Lighthearted?
keeps everything close to the vest.
Ah, I see what you're saying there. Okay.
So you're kind of like, what are you doing? Are you analyzing me? Are you thinking? Are you sad? Are you, like, it's kind of hard to tell. But then, like, when she would hang out with Yelena, you could see her getting her to open up.
Mm-hmm. BJ, how do you feel about it, man?
I have to say, I'm giving it a 7.5, and it's for the end. I really, when it got to be the Black Widow and the Furious, just a ridiculous ending.
And it is about family. Look at that. Tied all in together.
Love it.
Really, that's when I was like, okay, this ending's a little bit much for me. Yeah. But I really enjoyed the sisters. I enjoyed the family dynamic. I enjoyed the pain of these two little girls. I mean, they did a really good job.
Out of context, that sounds really bad, by the way.
I enjoy the pain of these two.
Well, yeah, I mean, these two young kids that really were in a family, and then the idea that human beings can basically be trafficked is exactly really what happened here. Those two young kids got trafficked. It's a wonderful story about how humans can be horrible to other humans, and how they all tried to pick up the pieces in their lives to make it right. And I think that's a great, and it's a family story, and it was done really well. And I was surprised at how much that hit me. I was just like, wow, there's some good depth in this movie, and I really appreciated that. So, but it gets a 7.5 for me, which I think, I might have gone to an 8, but I think the movie theater made me like it better than maybe I don't know.
Fair enough,
So, I think still 7.5 is a solid rating.
Absolutely.
For this movie. You might be able to even coax an 8 out of me. Again, it's that the Black Widow and the Furious just was like, okay, come on.
Okay.
All right, we're going to space with our car. Okay, great.
I'm okay with this.
All right, guys. Well, let us know how you feel about it. BJGeekNation@gmail.com, where you can send us some posts or some topics via the old social media. But now it is time to get to
The Geek Sheet with Vicky B.
All right, Vicky, what do you got for us?
It's Friday!
Oh, wait, yeah, so that means movies. Fun.
The biggest one has to be The Suicide Squad!
Yes, this is not Suicide Squad. It is the Suicide Squad.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it is. I know, I'm very excited for this because James Gunn is coming back. Well, not back to DC. This is the first time he's doing DC, but he's taking a weird ragtag group of, I don't even want to call them like B-list. I think they're like Z-list baddies.
Some of these, yeah, definitely for sure. Like Polka Dot Man, Thinker. Although King Shark has a very special place in my heart because after hearing Ron Funches' version on the Harley Quinn show, he is one of my favorites.
I need to watch that.
So good.
And he's been in so many different, the character King Shark has been in so many different iterations of everything.
Mm-hmm.
Been in Flash, the TV show on the CW.
Definitely, it looks like it's worth the watch because as of right now, there isn't any audience score, but there is a 95% tomato meter from the critics.
I think people were trying to review bomb it.
Yep.
Because, I mean...
The people who liked, I guess, the first one?
Yeah, something along those lines, or even, I don't even know, like, when they're trying to do it, sometimes they have an agenda, maybe Marvel versus DC or something silly like that, but, like... I think at this point you should probably just understand that it's James Gunn and he's going to be weird, he's going to be quirky, and if you've seen any of his movies...
it's for the people who are all about restore the Snyder Cut, I guess.
Okay.
They were the ones giving the negative reviews.
But it was David Ayer who did that one.
Right.
Which doesn't make any sense because even David Ayer himself has said that wasn't like his movie, Suicide Squad, wasn't even the right cut. Like, the studios came in and chopped that one all up.
And even John Cena, who is Peacemaker in the new Suicide Squad movie, has said, you know what? It's in the company's best interest to listen to their audience. And if it's a demand they've got, and they've got it, so why wouldn't they release it, basically?
Totally.
And so a lot of people are kind of are standing behind him, that there needs to be an Ayer cut of the first Suicide Squad movie, and hopefully it will make it not garbage. Because they did a lot of reshoots, and we had the theory that the reason they did that was to probably add more funny, because it was around the time that Deadpool came out.
Okay.
And so I remember they're like, Deadpool came out, it's hilarious, it's filthy, and they're like, so we have some reshoots we got to do. And I remember that kind of being the speculation to why, but everyone is saying that not only is it a good movie, but a lot of the cast had a really great time. I think I was reading, Viola Davis, is that her name?
Yeah.
She was saying that it was such a great environment to work in, and it's just all around looks like it was a good place to be. And so I'm very excited to go see this. I might have to see it in the theater. I might have to see it at home. Like, there's been spoiler-free reviews, but everyone is saying that they're in love with King Shark.
Okay, yeah. And I want to see how epic this is on the big screen. I'm very excited to be able to do that. So I think this is one of those ones. I mean, I'll also probably end up watching it on HBO Max. I feel like it's going to be one of those ones that I'll be doing it a lot.
Feels like it's going to be Suicide Squad of the Galaxy, is really what it has a feeling.
I'm okay with
Not
this.
wrong, yeah, right?
But speaking of things that, like, on Rotten Tomatoes, I was checking out Rotten Tomatoes earlier today on Twitter and seeing some of their latest posts. Got some big news.
What's that?
As of yesterday, they announced that not only is Cobra Kai returning for a season 4.
Nice.
That'll be in December. We are also officially getting a Bad Batch season 2 in 2022.
Oh, nice. And BJ, you've been watching a lot of that.
Yeah, it's a good show. It has filler episodes that I'm not crazy about, but there is you're seeing definitely the Empire, what they did after they won. This is after the Empire won in Order 66. You get to see how they basically became this dictatorship, horrible thing. And you get to go see some planets who really thought they were fighting for the right side, and then they realized we were not fighting for the right side. This sucks. You get to see some beloved characters that we've seen in other animated shows and the beginnings of them. So this is good. We've seen some cool people from the live-action shows as well as the animated shows, sort of like their beginnings, their origin stories, put forward in Bad Batch. So I'm excited.
Nice.
And something that kind of just went over my head completely was apparently there was a teaser trailer that dropped like a couple weeks ago for Why the Last Man, which is going to be appearing on FX on Hulu. And I'm like, how did I not see the teaser trailer? And because Rotten Tomatoes also put out like the new poster they came out with. I was like, oh, is there anything else? But apparently there was also an official trailer that dropped yesterday.
Oh, I got to watch that then.
Oh,
yes.
wow. Okay, yeah. I have...
literally, I was like, oh, let me check this out. Oh, hey, look, this just dropped.
Wow,
I should
Why
probably
the
watch
Last Man?
that.
I'm going to look at that myself.
But apparently it's going to be coming September 13th. So right around the corner.
Ooh, and it looks like it's going to have 10
10
episodes in total. This is going to be fun.
Is this streamed, or is it going to be on FXX or FX
It
or
says
whatever?
FX, exclusively FX on Hulu.
Yeah, so it feels like it will be available on Hulu.
And that's okay. So that's how that, because there's so many shows that I don't know. There's a new show about so it looks like it's a Native American trailer park boys almost called. It's Reservation Dogs. And I thought, okay, I went and thought I'm going to record this on my TV, and it wasn't available on my TV. And I'm like, wait, I just saw the commercial for it. I don't get it. So there are some shows that are just streaming only, and this one here feels like it's that case. It's going to be streaming only on Hulu, and somehow FX is involved, even though FX isn't going to broadcast it on their cable network.
Oh, neat. Reservation Dogs is created by Taika Waititi.
Oh,
That's why I wanted to watch it.
Yeah.
I was like, this looks good.
Wow, that looks fun.
But I think it's only streaming, and so I'm like, okay, I got to... Oh, I'm so confused with how to get this.
the other movie that I hear that everyone's been talking about and saying it's been really good is The Green Knight.
Yeah.
I've heard
it's
a
like
lot
Dev
of good
Patel.
things. Oh,
I've heard
love
that
Dev
too.
Patel. So,
All right, so where's that at?
that's what I'm taking a peek at. Looking.
The Green Knight with Dev Patel. Of course, we've had a good interview with Dev Patel. He's a wonderful guest.
Way back in the day for Slumdog Millionaire.
Well, also for Chappie too.
Oh gosh, yeah, that's right.
It's funny.
I forgot how good Chappie was.
I'm looking at the Rotten Tomatoes, and it says the tomato meter is 90%, but the audience score is 53%. But everyone I've seen on Facebook post about it and commenting, not even just friends in general, was loving it. So I'm wondering if it's one of those, like, they want to review bomb it.
Maybe, yeah.
For specific reasons.
So what is this review bomb? I'm unfamiliar with this term.
It's people who will, basically a bunch of people with either different accounts or bots will negatively review something.
So it gets a lower rating.
And then thereby people will be less inclined to want to actually watch it.
They did that when Captain Marvel came out.
And by and large, it doesn't seem to actually work at all.
That would be audience review bombing, because
Yes.
they can't.
Yeah.
They're not legitimate critics. Boy, that's disturbing, because you're just seeing that. Well, you're seeing that in a lot of things in life, where people can really affect a system, by basically gaming the system and beating it, and therefore you're not getting you're not really getting an accurate result as to whether or not that thing is worth what it's worth, or if it's good as it's good. I mean, I get you can do that, but boy, that sucks if you're a regular person just trying to see if a movie's for you, and it turns out it might or might not be based on the review bombing. That sucks.
Yeah.
I guess I got to go with the critics again. I was thinking I could trust the people.
I don't trust anybody.
Yeah, that's the good way to go about that.
Oh, I like that. All right, but then if I trust you, then I am trusting the people. So I have to not trust you guys either. Damn it!
Don't trust anybody.
The Green Knight did not have a hybrid release. It's only in theaters right now.
Yeah, so now and basically the Green Knight is King Arthur's headstrong nephew embarks on a daring quest to confront the Green Knight.
Oh.
So it's Arthurian legend.
I'm here for it.
Yeah.
All right, I'll see it sometime.
Well, until next time, guys, stay nerdy.
This podcast brought to you by
At Zulu's Board Game Cafe in Bothell, you can feed your family, enjoy a frosty beverage, order a new game, and pick them all up curbside. Check out Zulu's food and beverage menu specials and game specials at zulusgames.com. That's zulusgames.com. Zulu's Board Game Cafe. Let's play.